told me I could take a really long time to talk to you guys, so if you're nervous about swimming like I am, never fear, I'm going to take up more time. All right, so some of you just heard that all of you just heard that I am a cancer survivor. I'm still undergoing cancer treatment. I think it's a really good story for why I'm here today and why I'm swimming, and I'll get to my story in just a second. But you may be a little surprised to hear why I'm actually here. I swim for those swimmers like me who are battling cancer or battled cancer but can't be here with us to tell us their swim race story, or their cancer race story as I like to tell it. Now, we're all in Georgia, and some of you guys may have been Georgia swimmers for a long time, like I have. And you may have heard of a young swimmer from Georgia named Marin Morrison. Marin was a high schooler at Collinsville High School and was diagnosed with a brain tumor in 2005 when she was a freshman. She's a really, really accomplished age grouper here in Georgia, was setting lots of records. In fact, the first I ever heard of her was because she'd broken a lot of records that I had set. And I found that really annoying at first, mainly because of my ego, and it erased my name from the record books. But I soon learned that the reason that Marin's name came into my life was much bigger than any record board or anyone's name being notorious or anything, and it was because of her story. So she was diagnosed in 2005 and had surgery to remove her tumor, which was largely successful. Unfortunately, it left her paralyzed on half of her body and really compromised her ability to speak. Despite that, she was determined to get back into the pool, swim, and compete, even though all of her doctors told her that she couldn't. It was never going to happen again. But she had a really different plan in mind on what she was going to do. So within 3 years after her surgery and diagnosis, she quickly moved up the ranks in the U.S. Paralympic organization, and she qualified for the Beijing Paralympics in 3 events, which I think is pretty awesome. It's awesome enough to qualify in just one, or just to swim after that much surgery. Unfortunately, a few months before the games, she suffered a near-fatal stroke, which for anyone else would have pretty much signaled the end of their life. But Marin was absolutely determined to swim in the Beijing Paralympics, and she made it there literally by the skin of her teeth. So she made it to Beijing, and she swam in her 3 events. And if any of you have seen, you can go look on YouTube if you want to watch it after this, go search for her name. But there's NBC footage of her swims and her courageous battle with cancer. She had to be literally carried into and out of the water, but once she was in the water, she was a beautiful swimmer. And during her races in Beijing, in the water cube, if you guys are old enough to remember the Beijing Olympics, she was still stroking very gracefully, but very slowly, minutes and minutes after the nearest finisher finished before her. And everyone in the water cube was on their feet, cheering and clapping for her. Everyone from every other country was doing that. And every time I see that video, I completely lose it, because it's so inspiring. And every time I feel like I can't swim or I can't do something, I use that as inspiration. And unfortunately, several months after the Paralympics, Marin passed away. But you can tell that her spirit was literally to live to swim at those games. And so she can't be with us today, and she never gave up, as you guys heard. And I still say she never gave up because I pledged to let her story live on through me. I also swim for Lauren Beam. Lauren was an accomplished NCAA swimmer and track athlete at New York University, and she went on to become the head coach of the women's program there, and had an incredibly accomplished coaching career at NYU. Unfortunately, in 2009, Lauren was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer, even though she was an accomplished swimmer, Ironman triathlete, and marathoner. She fought an incredibly courageous battle with colon cancer. She exercised, worked out, and hung out with her friends every single day, even on her worst chemotherapy days when all she wanted to do was throw up and be at home. Unfortunately, Lauren passed away in September of 2011, but in her memory, her family formed the Lauren Beam Foundation, which provides financial assistance to young adults who are active or athletic and undergoing cancer treatment. And I was very fortunate to have benefited from the Lauren Bean Foundation this year as they provided financial assistance to me to offset some of the financial costs of my own treatment. So, very exciting. So, Lauren also never gave up for the same reason, because I pledged to let her story live on through me in her fight. So then there's me. I should probably talk about that. So I grew up here in Atlanta swimming at Dynamo. Who's a Dynamo? And Duluth High School. Go Wildcats. I don't know if any of you guys are Wildcats. And then I went on to swim at Duke. Who likes the Blue Devils? Woo! Awesome. Unfortunately, after my sophomore year, which was incidentally my best year of swimming of my life, I underwent a career-ending shoulder surgery. And it was a big blow to me. I kind of lost that swimming identity. I didn't really know what to do, and I kind of struggled to get back into the water for about 10 years after that. It was really hard mentally, and also I had a lot of injuries following that. But last year in 2015, I decided, you know what, I want to commit to Swim Across America, and so I got in the pool in early spring, and I was all into it, and then I got sick. I was diagnosed with a rare sarcoma called an inflammatory myofibroblastic tumor, say that 3 times fast, in my right lung on August 13th, 2015, after being really sick for several months. I was so sick that I could barely walk up the stairs after getting out of the pool. But with the help of a brilliant and vibrant sarcoma specialist named Dr. Gina D'Amato at Northside Hospital, we came up with a really awesome plan. And after 8 months of what's called a genetically targeted chemotherapy pill, my tumor shrank from being the size of a grapefruit, so that big, to about the size of a large egg. And I felt as good as new, but I still had a really long road ahead of me. So I learned that I was going to have an incredibly aggressive surgery in May of this year. And I'm a physical therapist, and knowing what was going to happen in the surgery, I knew that there was a chance that it was going to severely compromise my ability to swim ever again. So I was a little worried about that, but I thought of Marin and Lauren, and I thought of my pledge to swim in this event, and I pressed forward and knew that I'd figure out a way, and as Dory the fish says, I would just keep swimming. And I'd gotten sucked into volunteering on the committee for this event, so I figured as long as I'd be here, I may as well be in the water. It's more exciting. So I underwent surgery on May 19th this year, just a little less than 4 months from today. Surgery took 10 hours. I had 2 surgeons, and here's what they did. They removed part of my right lung. They took out 3 ribs, part of my collarbone, part of my breastbone. They implanted 2 metal titanium prosthetic ribs. They rearranged the muscles in my chest right here. And then I was in the hospital for 10 days, and they said it would take a year before I'd be able to swim again. I had a different plan. You know where this is going. So, within 32 days of my surgery, I was back in the water kicking with fins and felt fine. And so my surgeons were a little baffled by that. And they said, okay, fine, you could try like real swimming. They kind of doubted me. They kind of rolled their eyes and were like, yeah, whatever. Try your real swimming, see how it goes. And it was a little hard at first, but I did it. And then another blow hit me because I started swimming probably. I broke one of the titanium struts in my chest, which normally people say is impossible. But we're starting to learn that I do things that are a little different anyway, most of the time. So at that point, I felt like the rug had really been pulled out from under me. I set forth, I was already back swimming, this was actually going to happen. And then I had to have another surgery 4 weeks ago. So 4 weeks ago, I underwent surgery, and they removed both of the titanium struts. So now I have a big hole in my chest covered up with skin and muscle. And I was itching to get back in the pool as soon as they would let me, which was 2 weeks after that, or 2 weeks ago. And I've been in the water almost every day since then, fighting to get here. So my surgeons think I'm a little crazy to swim this soon after surgery, and sometimes I think so too. And maybe I'm crazy, but I'm on a mission, and I'm determined not to let anything else stand in my way. I think I've had enough of that. I'm still not out of the woods. After this event, I will start radiation therapy at Northside Hospital, and I've got these tattoos, not the Swim Across America ones. I've got these tattoos on the side of me that mark, you can see that marks where they're gonna line up the radiation machine. So I found a way to cover those up because they told me not to swim when I had these tattoos on. That wasn't gonna happen. So I'm really excited to be here today. I'm so excited everyone turned out, and I'd just like to thank everyone who has supported me along the way. And let's all go make waves to fight cancer now.
Let's give it up for Julie and for Mark. Give it up.